Hi, my name's Tim Hurd from Willwriter Pro and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. So here today I'm going to demonstrate the Willwriting Pro software. So Willwriter Pro consists of two parts: the front office, which is an offline software, and the back office, which is the administration CRM system that works online. So one of the massive advantages of Willwriter Pro, before I go in and demonstrate the software, is that it works offline in the client's house. What this means is that the consultant can take the instruction in the house and it will automatically produce the wills and the LPAs. And therefore you don't need a drafter. You need someone obviously to quality check the documents and make any amendments, but generally the drafter is not needed because the documents are automatically produced for you. So when you think about that, if you have a company with say 3 consultants out in the field on a Friday and they see 2 clients each, then basically they've seen 6 clients and each client could have as many as 6 documents. They could have 2 mirror wills and say 4 LPAs. So all of those documents on a Monday morning someone would have to draft. But with Willwriter Pro that's not the case. On Monday morning when the documents or the instructions are sent to the back office, then all of that drafting will be done and you would simply print off the documents and check them. So it's a fantastic advantage having Willwriter Pro working offline. The other things that are an advantage to Willwriter Pro is that the wills are in a Word document. So whilst you can edit within the system, because they're Word, they're very easily editable. And then of course if you have to do free updates like a lot of us do in the future, then if someone's moved address it takes 2 minutes to make the amendments to the Word document, save it in as the revised will. Willwriter Pro uses Parker's Precedents, which have a great reputation within the industry, and they're currently on their 9th edition. So let me show you then how Willwriter Pro works. So what we're going to do, we've just seen a client called Jimmy Pink and Jenny Pink, and they've agreed that they want a couple of PPT wills and say 4 LPAs. So once we've agreed that, we're in the house, we're remembering we're offline, and I'm just now going to click and show you how easy it is to take the instructions. So if we have a look at this now, on the top here we have manage settings, and that's where you put in your settings if you're a certificate provider. Then if you put in your settings once and the correspondence details, then if you tick that box then it'll automatically populate your LPAs with those details. We have historic records here. If for example Jimmy Black here rang up in the morning and said I'm James Black, then you can make active that case again, bring it into the client records, and then you can edit Jimmy Black's will and make it James Black. We also have Parker's Precedents here. So for example if I launch the library here, this is the whole book here. This is actually the 8th edition. We're just reviewing the 9th edition. But if, for example, you wanted to know what a mutual will is, you could go into that chapter, read about it, and there are clauses there. If you wanted to, say, do a statement saying that this isn't a mutual will, then there are clauses there that do that. And you've got all these clauses here that you can use from Parker's. And the great news is with our system you can add your own bespoke clauses. So you can choose to add your own library of clauses in addition to the ones that we've given you. One of the other advantages is that Willwriter Pro works on buttons or tabs. It can be a bit laborious going through a document. So for example if you don't need a Guardian, you'd have to go through the Guardian section and then go next onto the next section. With Willwriter Pro that's not the case. We work on tabs, so if you don't need Guardians you simply miss that part out. So let's show you how it works then. We've got some tabs here. We've got wills, that's a green tab, and obviously that's where we'll enter our will instructions. The LPA instructions are where we enter LPAs. We have a third party relationship with a company called Trust Docs. They do Intervivus trusts. They're a separate company from us, but our clients can use our software to capture the instruction for Trust Docs to then draft the documents. You can also attach files to the instructions, so if you were doing a recording of an elderly client, you can record it on your smartphone and then attach it to the instructions. Similarly, if you needed to take photographs of passports or other documents, the same would apply. Once you've completed the instruction, it comes under client instructions, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. You would then mark the client instruction as ready, and then you would send it to the back office. So let's show you how to take an instruction for Jim and Jenny Pink. So we're going to take the will instruction first. So we need to confirm that we're going to check the tenancy if it's applicable of the house, and we understand residential nil rate band uplift. Once we've done that, we're now going to do a mirror will, and that now opens up all of these tabs. And as I said, if you don't need guardians, we're not going to need them in this will, then you simply just don't enter any details in that tab. So we're going to enter the client instructions now. So let's first of all put in Mr. Jimmy Pink. If he's known as anyone else like James, then we can put that in and that'll appear in the will. We're going to give Jimmy a date of birth. He's married. He lives at 123 The Street, Anytown. Give him a postcode, and we can fill in other details here. We can give him a mobile phone. This will all appear on the instruction, and we can give him an email address, and I'll put mine in there, tim@willwriterpro.com. And we can also fill in other details. If he has a will in another country, let's say for example in Spain, if we put in there that he's got a will in Spain, then we won't revoke that will. And if he's a partner, then if we name the partner as a future spouse, then there'll be an anticipation of marriage clause automatically put in the will. So Jimmy's married to Jenny. We give Jenny a date of birth, and we can copy across the address, and again we can add telephone numbers, etc. I'll show you very briefly the financial information. We won't sort of enter any details in because it's very self-explanatory. This will cover all the assets and liabilities, and that will appear on the instruction form. So I'm going to enter some children's details now. So I'm going to add a couple of children. So we'll say that they've got a couple of adult children. So we've got Ben. And as soon as we press P, Pink comes up. We can copy across the address, and his bloodline, his bloodline to both. Give him a date of birth. And then we can add another child here, which will be Betty. Copy across the address, and again bloodline to both, date of birth, and now we've entered the children's details. We're going to enter executors now. Now executors are fairly straightforward. You can have the spouse acting solely, joint or with substitutes, or you can have individuals doing the same, or a professional. So I'm going to have spouse acting with the children. So first of all I'm going to put in Ben, and as soon as I put B there, I can select Ben, and then as I put P in, it'll automatically add all of the details there. And we're going to do exactly the same with Betty. There's Betty, and we can put her details in there. So once they're added, again We don't need guardians because they're over 18. We can put funeral wishes in, so we'll say cremated, cremated. I'm going to do a gift before residue, so we're going to add a gift. We can choose whether we want to do client 1 first death, client 2 first death, or second death. We'll go client 1 first death. We'll make it a monetary gift or a special item. It'll be a monetary gift here, tax free. And it says in red there, if it's money, all we do is we put in the figures. So 9,000, and that will automatically produce in the will £9,000 with a pound sign and also in writing. We're going to add a recipient who will be an individual, and it's Bob Green. And we can put in issue if we want there. I can also add a memorandum of wishes, which I'm going to do, and that's my gifts before residue. On the trust before residue, there's a number of options. There's 2 types of PPT, a right to reside where you can vary the occupancy term, or a life interest. You can do a discretionary trust or a nil rate ban. So I'm going to do a life interest. We're going to default to the property address, and it will automatically cover any principal private residence that they may be in at the time of their death. Obviously we would need to make sure that that's tenants in common. The residence goes to the spouse normally, and we can add a loan facility. It's a life interest, so they get the income facility by default. We can discharge the mortgage if we wish from residue. We can add include the furniture and fittings, and we can, if we want, cease the occupation on marriage or cohabitation. I'm not going to do that. And then once the life interest has ceased, the beneficial share, I can choose who that goes to. I can do it individuals, bloodline children, or discretionary trust. I'm going to go bloodline children, and then on to issue. On the residuary estate, it works in levels. So the first level here can either be to an individual, a discretionary trust, or a life interest trust of residue. I'm going to go to an individual, and what we'll do is we'll add the spouse as the first level. We'll add a second level there, which will be to an individual again, and we'll make this the bloodline children, and then on to issue. And I can add as many levels as I want. If I want to add a third level, saying giving 50% to one person and 50% to a group of other people, I can do that and just build up my levels as they're applicable. I've got a bespoke clause library. Now we give you some of the Parker's clauses, but you can add as many clauses of your own as you would like. So if I insert a clause now, if I look at, say, in client 1's will, and I'm going to add a clause before residue. So as I say, we've got a choice of some here, and I'm going to add a gift of all my digital assets. So what I have to do there, the clause from Parker's is there. I just have to put in the name of the beneficiary because that's in claw marks. So I'm going to put that in, Barry White. So Barry is going to get all of my digital assets, and I've just got some attendance notes to do, bearing in mind that your consultant might be out on their first meeting, so it's important to have proper notes. So there's 18 questions here. Is there any reason for urgency in making the will? No. Any medical conditions? No. Is there any disability? No. Are you making the will voluntarily? One would hope so. Is there anyone who's dependent on you that's being left out? No. Any beneficiary with special needs? No. Do you wish any stepchildren or grandchildren to inherit? No. Do you have any business? No. Have you made any gifts over £3,000? And of course, if it's yes, you would answer appropriately. Do you own any houses outside of England and Wales? We'll say yes. We've got one in Spain. Have you made a foreign will? Yes, we have. In Spain. Do you intend to marry anyone in the future? We'll say no to that. Have you made a will or codicil before? we'll say no. If you're leaving someone out, then you put in their name and then there'll be an exclusion clause in the will, but I'm going to say no, we're not. Are there any problems generally within the family? No. Any other points that we need to raise that are relevant? No. You just need to confirm as the consultant that you're happy that Banks versus Goodfellows and Mental Capacity Act has been satisfied. You then confirm you've given them terms of business and any miscellaneous notes. So once I've done that, one of the other tremendous advantages is I'm in the house, so I can now show the client the instruction. So Jim and Jenny can now look at the instruction and check and make sure there's no typos. So that's a great thing, because when you're taking it from a written instruction, there's always that human element for typos. You can do it if you simply can't operate a computer in the house, then you can take a written instruction. There is one available on our system, and then you can add the data when you get back. But if you can, and it's so simple, it's a lot quicker actually, if you can use the software, then you know that the typos are going to disappear. Once you've done that, if you've got a touchscreen laptop like I have, then you can actually get the client in the house to sign the instruction here. So Jim and Jenny are just signing the instruction, and then I save and return, and that's my will instruction taken. Now, to show you how quick an LPA instruction is, we're going to take 4 LPAs, 2 for each client. So the first thing we need to do is we need to say, okay, we're basing it on Jim and Jenny Pink. We're going to do a property and financial affairs and a health and welfare. So I'm going to do the property and financial affairs first of all. If you notice, the donor details are in purple, so that's already been done. So I'm going to add some attorneys, which will be the spouse acting with the 2 children. So I'm going to add first of all Ben. And again, that will auto populate through. And then I'm going to add Betty, and that will automatically populate through as well. I then need to decide how they're going to act, so I'm going to say they're going to act jointly and severally. If I want replacement attorneys, I can put them in. I'm the certificate provider, so I just click and then basically it auto populates with my details. If it's going to be someone who's known them for 2 years, then you would just type those details in. Preferences instructions, they're self-explanatory if you need to add those. Persons to be told are going out of fashion a bit, but if you need to inform anyone you're registering, you can. On the LPA registration, we're going to say the donor's registering and we're the correspondents, but you can use any combination that suits you. So once we've done that, we need to do some attendance notes. So we just say that would we like the attorney to act as soon as the LPA has been registered? Yes, we would. Would you like them to have access to the will? No. Are there any medical conditions that affect their memory? No. Any disability at all? No. Are they making the lasting power of attorney voluntarily? Yes. We are the certificate provider, and we just confirm that we're not one of the above list, that we wouldn't be able to act. Once we've done that, do we wish to register the power of attorney now or later? I'll say now. And we're not applying for a reduced fee. If we are, then it will automatically do the LPA 120s for you. Once that's done, I have written that LPA, in a matter of minutes. I close and return it. If I want to do a health and welfare one, all I do is click on the health and welfare, and I can run a quick action based on the property and financial affairs. So if I now run the quick action, that is now done, and this is my health and welfare LPAs for Jim and Jenny Pink. If I need to change anything, so for example Ben's not an attorney, I would just go in, edit that, and edit the changes. Once I've done that, I've now done all of my documents. I am now going to send them to the back office. So for me to send them to the back office, I need an internet connection. So I've come home. Obviously in the house I didn't, but now I've come home and now I'm going to mark as ready Jim and Jenny's details, and all I do now is send it to the back office, proceed, and that is now being uplifted to the back office. So if you think on a Friday you've got quite a few salesmen, or indeed you're on your own, the delight of not having anything to draft on Monday morning is a huge benefit. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the back office. So we go to WillWriter Pro, and this is where the administration is done. So I'm now going to log in. So we're going to log in now to the back office. So this is the back office. If I can explain a few things about this. So you have a dashboard here that shows you new business. So hopefully there'll be plenty of that coming in. Active clients that are going through the process, and the new prospects, which would be guardians and executors of the wills that you can contact. We also have a workflow management here. So on the workflow, which you'll see in a minute, in your settings you can decide how many days delay you want between a process. So for example, if we were going to send out a draft will, and I know not everyone does, but if we were, we could say we're going to allow 5 days for the client to contact us to say it's okay. So all the while it's under 5 days, it's a green light. On the 5th day it becomes amber, and when it goes overdue, then it becomes red. And then what we can then do is we can go through all our overdue clients and ring them up and bring them up to date. So it's a great way of making sure that you maintain control in the back office, and it's a real stress reliever. And we've got a workflow for wills, LPAs, storage, trusts and funeral plans. So Monday morning comes and we've got a new bit of business in. So if we click on new business, we've got Jim and Jenny Pink, and we're now going to create a client record. So that takes a few seconds depending on obviously the speed of your internet. And what's happening now is the client record is being produced. So we have a look at that. So from the client record we can do a number of things. We can text directly the client, we can send an email. I'm now going to show you the client documents. So if we have a look at the will first of all, again in the settings you can choose to have a draft copy which is watermarked produced. Not everyone sends draft copies out. So if we have a look at the will here, so this is the will of Jimmy Pink. Again, you can design it if you prefer within settings to have a front cover sheet or an index. If you prefer not to have last will and testament on the revocation page, you can just design it how you like. And we will give you a front cover sheet with your logo free of charge if you let us know. So this is the will. So we've got Jenny and the 2 children as executors. There's the gift of the digital assets to Barry. We've got the £9,000 going to Bob. We've got the memorandum of wishes clauses, life interest to Jenny, the administration of the estate, and the gift of residue went first level to Jenny and then to the children equal shares, and then the trustee clauses with the step provisions and the final clause finish off the will. Now if we look at Jenny's will, that should be a mirror with the exception of that gift of money. So if we have a look at that, that mirrors it, but there's no gift of money there because it was client 1 first death. I'll just show you the memorandum of wishes as well, so that you can print off as many of these as you wish, and that just basically allows the client to fill in a memorandum of wishes for themselves. Okay. So we've got our documents there. The LPAs come through on a different server, so you click that to import them in. The other way is if you are working on the workflow, which I'll show you now. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to send off a draft will. So I'm just going to unlock this task because, as I say, not everyone sends them off, but we're going to send one off. So we've looked at the will, we're happy with it, so we're now going to email the client. Now within the settings there's a very powerful letter library, so you can set up letters at any stage within any workflow. Once you've set them up, then it'll automatically merge the client details into the letter. So if I click to email, I'm now going to email a draft will. My letter's already done. I can change any details I want. So I'm going to email a draft copy of client 1 and 2's will there. And once I've done that, I click send an email, and that's now sent. All my LPAs are through there, so I've got client 1's and client 2's LPAs. If I go back to the workflow, I've sent the draft copy, so now I complete that. And now I'm awaiting for approval. And as I say, if I go over the 5 days I've allotted, then I'll get a red light and I can chase up Jimmy and Jenny Pink. But let's say that they actually do complete that. Now, I can add as many external websites to this record. So it's a little bit like being in a cockpit of a plane. You wouldn't go to the back of the plane to fly it. Well, you don't have to go and Google a land registry report. You set it up in your external websites, and then you can go straight to land registry. What you can then do is pull off a land registry report, add it as a new document to the miscellaneous documents, and you've got your land registry there. So if we now go back to the workflow, we read the land registry and we find out that it's joint tenant, so we need to sever the tenancy. So all we do is we create a severance document. We're going to put in Peterborough as the local authority. The title number, which we've taken from the land registry, is 1234. We create the sev document, and now if we go into client documents, under miscellaneous we have a severance declaration letter and the actual severance document there, which we can print off. It's all filled in, and we can get that ready to send off with the will. And what we then do is we just complete the workflow. As we are sent back the copy wills, we can bring them into the system, certify them, email them out, and once the severance is complete, and once that workflow is complete, and the LPA one is, because there's a separate workflow there, then what will happen is automatically this client record will move from the active box on the dashboard to the archived. So if I just show you some of the options here, you've got user settings, so you can set up different protocols for different users, so a consultant wouldn't necessarily be looking at your back office. There's clause libraries here, I can show you that. So it's very, very easy to add a clause. If I want to add a new clause, I choose first of all where I want it to appear in the will, so I'll say it's before residue. The title is going to be new clause, and if I put in here new clause, I then add it to my library. So I've now added it to my back office, so it's there. What I then need to do is just to make sure that I import it in, so I synchronize my bespoke clauses, and that's now done. So now if I look at a client record, if I go under bespoke clauses and I look for a clause, and we'll go before residue, there's my new clause there, and it's that simple to add a new clause, and you can add a full library of clauses. What else can we do? We can do things like marketing campaigns, so we can look at, for example, how many clients have over the last year made wills but no LPAs, and then we can pull that off in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we can do a marketing campaign. So there's a lot to have shown you, and it's been a pleasure showing you on this webinar, Will Writer Pro. What we'd like to do is to offer you a one-to-one demonstration. So if you'd like a one-to-one demonstration, you can contact us on 01702 780101. That's 01702 780101. Or you can email me at tim@willwriterpro.com, or you can go to our website and contact us via that, which is willwriterpro.com.